Hi everyone, my name is Tajana and I'm going to be presenting on Robert Sargent Shriver Jr. There was tons of information on him, so I kind of just picked out the important things. I don't know, but if you want to read about him, he's really interesting. So anyway, um, he Robert Sargent Shriver Jr. said, "Peace is like war. If enough men want it, enough can cause it. Each of us has the power to bring peace not only to the world, but to our hearts." Robert Sargent Shriver Jr., he was known as Sarge to those close to him, was born on November 9, 1915 in Westminster, Maryland. Robert attended a private and prestigious high school in Connecticut and Yale from 1934 to 1938, where he was the senior editor for the Yale Daily News. In 1938, he enrolled in law school at Yale and graduated with his Legum Baccalaureus, or Bachelor of Laws, in 1941. He then went on to serve in the U.S. Navy during World War II, spending most of his time in the South Pacific. Upon his discharge, Mr. Shriver was hired to manage the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, Illinois, which was owned by the Kennedys. And it was there that he met Eunice Kennedy, the sister of John F. Kennedy. Eunice and Robert were married in 1953 and had 5 children. He created and established countless social organizations during his lifetime that promote peace, understanding, and acceptance. Some of these organizations include War on Poverty, Head Start, Job Corps, VISTA, Community Action Program, Legal Services to the Poor, Foster Grandparents, Peace Corps, and the Special Olympics. Sargent Shriver was a fierce defender of civil rights in the 1950s and 60s. At the University of Hartford in 2004, Shriver told the students, "It is futile to wait just for leaders to improve society. All of history's great changes, nonviolent changes, came from below, not from above. It comes from us, and often from the least of us." He understood that the civil rights cause was directly connected to the economic status of the country. Shriver spent most of his career encouraging elected officials to do the right thing and make the changes that needed to be made. He was successful in the fight to integrate Chicago's public and parochial schools. He became an advocate for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a supporter for the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and was in charge of President Johnson's War on Poverty. The War on Poverty program had a budget of $1 billion, and it was entirely up to Shriver to design it and get it approved by Congress. Shriver designed the program to change the economic and social roots over the civil rights conflict in America. The different programs that were developed under the War of Poverty were the Head Start program, Job Corps, VISTA, Community Action Program, Legal Services to the Poor, and Foster Grandparents. All of these programs are still available today to us as Americans, and I would highly encourage you to look them up because they're really cool, but I don't have time to tell you about them right now. Robert Sargent Shriver Jr. is best known for being the first director of the Peace Corps. Not only was he the first director, but he was also responsible for the development and initiation of the program. Sargent even had the program up and running before it was officially approved by the Senate in September of 1961. College students around America were asked to volunteer and help in the program, and they responded in droves. As Shriver put it, quote, "We received more letters to work in the Peace Corps, which did not then exist, than for all other existing agencies," end quote. The Peace Corps was designed to send young Americans as ambassadors around the world to demonstrate the values of the United States, especially those of peace and justice. At the Peace Corps' 25th anniversary celebration, Sarge spoke to the volunteers, saying, quote, "Peace Corps volunteers, stay as you are, be servants of peace, work at home as you have worked abroad, humbly, persistently, intelligently. Weep for those who are sorrowful, rejoice with those who are joyful, teach those who are ignorant, care for those who are sick. Serve your wives, serve your husbands, serve your families, serve your neighbors, serve your cities, serve the poor. Join others who serve, 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 serve. That's the challenge, for in the end it will be the servants who save us all," end quote. That really reminded me of the gospel. but he was Roman Catholic, not Mormon, but good man. Anyways, this statement alone embodies the whole purpose and existence of the Peace Corps, which has placed over 200,000 volunteers in 139 different countries. Sargent Shriver was able to call on his previous experience in all of these different social and political and global organizations to help propel the Special Olympics program to what it is today. In 1984, Shriver became the president of the Special Olympics. In 1990, he was elected chairman of the board and then chairman in 2003. His previous experience was also helpful in opening doors in the former Soviet Union, China, Tunisia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Eastern Europe. His wife, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, was also very involved in the organization with him. Together, they helped the Special Olympics grow into the worldwide organization that it is today. The Shrivers saw the Special Olympics as a peacemaker between countries and also as a way to address the human rights issues that surrounded people with disabilities. The director of the international program, Jamie Kilpatrick, he was director during Shriver's tenure, said about him, quote, "He was a tireless ambassador for change, passionate, optimistic, energetic, vigorous, and always joyful. On long, intentional international flights, he would spend the hours reading his missal or reflecting on what needed to be done in advance the cause of people with intellectual disabilities in some new corner of the globe. In many countries, he literally opened the door for athletes, families, and volunteers, breaking down barriers of language and cultures while offering a new vision of achievement, inclusion, and love. These travels always seemed to renew Sarge. The world was his stage, and he loved making it a better place for all of us." End quote. Because of the good that was done by Sargent and Eunice Shriver, the Special Olympics is active in over 170 countries, reaching 3.5 million athletes through 228 different programs as of 2011. Their son, Timothy, is now actually in charge of the Special Olympics, and he continues to expand the program, and they hope that they can reach 5 million athletes by 2015. Robert Sargent Shriver Jr. was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2003. His sweet wife of 56 years, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, died on August 11, 2009 of a stroke. Sargent followed her less than 2 years later, dying on January 18, 2011. His funeral was attended by some of the most recognizable people in politics and the music industry at the time, including former President Bill Clinton, First Lady Michelle Obama, and the singers Bono from U2 and Wyclef Jean. It was said about the funeral that, quote, "Maria Shriver said her family took comfort in knowing that Daddy is in heaven with God and with Mummy," and went on to describe his whimsy, while her brother Mark Shriver described him as an old-fashioned Irish storyteller who never let the facts get in the way of a good story. Tim Shriver, who is the current chairman and CEO of the Special Olympics, said his father never coddled the children, but coached us to pursue those big, big ideas. He went on to describe his father as a man who saw the world as infused with God's Spirit, awe breaking through at each moment, end quote. So what does this mean to us? Where would the United States be today without Sarge? A couple of things. Our country would not have made progress in the civil rights like it did. We would not have the countless programs that support the less fortunate in our country. We wouldn't have one of the greatest organizations, the Peace Corps. The Special Olympics would not even be in existence, nor would we have the respectful, understanding relationships with lots of different countries. Sargent Shriver alone is responsible for the current condition of these organizations and many, many more. Personally, someday I hope to volunteer in the Peace Corps and become a repeat volunteer in the Special Olympics. So it was really cool to read about the man who established them and helped them to become what they are today. Robert Sargent Shriver Jr. was one of the brightest lights of the greatest generation. He will be sorely missed, but remembered for his efforts to address and fix the injustice and inequality that existed not only here in the United States, but across the world.